It's another exciting year of college hockey in the CCHA. I always love this time of the year. The leaves are beginning to turn. College football season has begun, which means college hockey is just around the corner, and we get underway here in just a couple weeks. I'd like to welcome our new Assistant Commissioner of Operations, Byron Sinstegard. He's a graduate of St. Thomas. He's worked previously at Northern Michigan and Minnesota State University. So we're excited to have him take over for Dean, who did a terrific job his time with the CCHA. I'd also like to welcome two new coaches to the CCHA. Dennis Williams, a Bowling Green graduate, returns after a stint in the Western Hockey League and coaching for the Canadian World Junior teams. He'll be a great addition, as will Dave Shayak, former national champion at Northern Michigan University, graduate. I know he's excited to return to his alma mater, as is Dennis. So looking forward to their transition over the course of the year and everything that we can do to assist them as they return to the CCHA. We're also excited with our new streaming partner in Midco. We've been extremely impressed with behind the scenes working with Mark Powell and everybody from Midco over the course of the summer. People can sign up now, and they've done a terrific job with the Summit Conference, and we're very, very confident that the transition to Midco will be highly successful for our viewers and the CCHA. Also looking forward to Augustana joining the league a year early, and that's really a credit to Augustana. When you look at what they've been able to do with their program, opening up the new Midco Arena midway through last season, their attendance, the success they had with their program, they were requesting to see if they could get in a year early to assist their program and their student athletes, and with an opportunity to be in our playoffs at the end of the year. So I give our athletic directors a lot of credit for looking at the big picture and allowing them in. There is a little nuance to it that we will be moving to a points percentage, just like we had during the COVID years for this one season, as they'll be playing 16 games and everybody else will have 26 games. But we thought that it was the right thing to do, and just really excited for Augustana, their program, and their continued growth in college hockey. We obviously expecting the close race in the CCHA. Like last year, it went down to the final weekend. When you look at the preseason polls, and 4 teams, and Bemidji State, our defending champion, St. Thomas, Minnesota State, and Michigan Tech all received first place votes. So we certainly anticipate a very, very competitive race as what we saw a year ago. There's also, as we know, a lot of changes in the NCAA landscape. We're still waiting. We thought the House settlement would take place a couple weeks back, but the judge threw that out. So there's a lot of change brewing as far as the NCAA. We already have unlimited transfers. The NCAA is looking at their amateurs and rules, which certainly, as we all know, there's been a lot of talk on what's going to happen with the CHL and college hockey if with the lawsuit, that's Masterson lawsuit, what's going to happen. We're all kind of following what the future looks like in the NCAA. So the next 12 to 24 months will be certainly an interesting time, what the rules will look like for college hockey, and what that means for the development path for a lot of hockey players. So with that, I'd be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Thanks, Don. And just noticing the last couple of years, Don's section actually ran over what we allotted. So we've given some more time to ask Don some more questions. So if you have one, please raise your hand using the hand raise function, and I will call on you and allow you to get that in. We have one here from Jay. Jay, go ahead.
Hi, Don.
Hi.
Just curious. You spoke a lot on Augustana specifically, and some of the things that made them an attractive early option for you guys as a league. So can you just speak to, maybe the rare air a little bit of having the kind of success that they were able to put together right away year one?
Well, I think you have to go back to, from an institutional standpoint, from the President Hurst to Sandlin to Josh Morton, their athletic director, Garrett Reboyne, their head coach. For the last couple of years, they obviously had a plan, and a very successful plan, whether it was fundraising for the new facility, make sure they hired the right coach, the commitment level from their institution. And they pretty much hit a home run last year in their preparation for their new team. And when I was there when they opened up their new facility and see a packed 3,000 people, the excitement in the Sioux Falls community, that they did everything right. And teams that are looking and they want to think about adding college hockey, I think they need to pay a visit to Sioux Falls and Augustana to see how you do it. And because of their success, I think that was a big reason, their facility being finished. That was a big reason why we kind of looked internally and said, why not allow Augustana to come in a year early? As I said, it creates a couple issues, but they're small when you look at the big picture of what it'll do, continue to do for their program and the excitement for their student athletes, knowing that they have a path into the NCAA tournament. That's another piece of it as well, is that they are eligible for the NCAA tournament, and without a playoff, it makes it difficult at the end of the year. So because of their success, because of their commitment, that's the reward that Augustana is getting to come into the CCHA a year early.
Jack Hittinger. Go ahead, Jack.
Jack Hittinger from USCHO. Just maybe just adding on to that, I know with the other big news this offseason was St. Thomas announcing they were leaving in 2 years. I guess first, what impact did St. Thomas leaving have on you guys deciding to add Augustana right away? I guess my second question is, with St. Thomas leaving, is there some awkwardness there with St. Thomas, or are they going to be they're in the league for 2 more years, so obviously they're going to be a member for 2 years, but how does that sort of transition work with St. Thomas leaving and Augustana coming in, and just as far as like making decisions on behalf of everybody in the league and all that good stuff?
Well, I think it was talked about during that transition time, and when St. Thomas notified us that I think that everybody felt that Augustana was really committed to the CCHA, and so why shouldn't we do everything we can to assist them and to continue to grow their program? So there was some discussion regarding that. So that was, if they weren't as successful as they were in year one, if they didn't have their facility finished, I don't think they'd be in a position to be in our league this year. But the arena is finished. They had a very successful season, and we want to do everything we can to assist them and to continue to develop their program. As far as St. Thomas is concerned, that they are a member, a good standing member in our league for the next 2 years. They'll be treated just like any other league member. Our decisions will be made on what's in the best interest of the CCHA. They've done a terrific job building their program, and they made a decision what they thought was in the best interest of St. Thomas. We see that happening across the country in college athletics at this time. So, we understand that and respect that, and it's a business decision, and, we'll move on and move forward, and, we'll make business decisions in the next couple of years in the best interest of the CCHA. And that's what every institution has, is they look out for the CCHA and what's best for our league as we move forward.
Jared Ribedo.
Hi, Don. Jared Ribedo, the Bemidji Pioneer. I want to ask you about the decision to go with the points percentage this year, including Augustana, and were there any alternative ways in, factoring in their limited amount of conference games, or was just really this the only kind of route that made sense in determining a McNaughton Cup champion this year?
Well, we looked at alternatives. Augustana was not in a position to drop non-league games because of contracts. So our original plan was to play 16 games against Augustana. They'd play everybody twice over a 2-year period, 4 teams home, 4 teams away. In year 2, it would be the opposite. So they had their 16 CCHA games scheduled and 18 non-conference games. And then we looked at, originally it was going to be 24 league games plus Augustana. So we decided to include the Augustana games in our conference. We couldn't go up points, obviously, because they're only playing 16 games. So, the points percentage made sense. And we've all lived it before during COVID, so it's not that unusual. I go back to when I played in the WCHA back in the 70s. There was an unequal amount of games. Some teams played 28 games, some teams played 26, and others played, I think, up to 32 games. And so some games were worth a little bit more. Obviously, the games against Augustana will have extra meaning. But we think it's still a good reflection when Augustana will be playing every team a 2-game series. So it will see everybody within our conference. And we thought it was the best option if we were going to move forward and allow Augustana in. And I think you'll see Augustana come in and be certainly more than competitive as they showed last year.
Going to get to as many questions as we have for Don here. We have Trent Singer next up.
Hey, Don, Trent Singer with the Rink Live at Sioux Falls Live. You mentioned the ongoing litigation, considering major junior players in Canada and the possibility of them being eligible to play in the NCAA. I'm just curious, what from a commissioner's perspective, how do you feel like that impacts a league like the CCHA and maybe more on the broader scale of college hockey and how that impacts college hockey as a whole?
Well, again, I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking on behalf of the other commissioners or anything like that. There is a divide. I mean, if you look at college hockey right now, you're going to have some coaches want to open up the major junior, others do not. I think it's a little bit of a fear of the unknown. Obviously, if the Canadian Hockey League opens up, and then that's going to open up some spots in Europe. So it's not just a CHL issue, because you have the players in Europe that play in a system within their communities, and they play club and junior, and then there might be some injuries to the professional team, and they call up a player for 6 or 8 games, and they're not signing a new contract, but then that player is deemed professional and he has eligibility issues. So it's not just a CHL issue, it's an issue with European players as well. The more players that are available, it just stands to reason, in my opinion, that you're going to have a bigger and better pool of players. So the talent level, I think, across certainly college hockey and the CCHA would improve. It would, I think, have a better opportunity to level the playing field in some instances. And in the long run, I think it would be a positive for college hockey if those players were available. It would alter the development path to a degree. But I also believe that there'd be far more players coming through the NCAA ranks before they went on to play in the NHL. And currently we have about 30%, 33% of the players in the NHL have played college hockey. And I think you'd see that number climb to over 50% if we did open that up. So we'll wait and see what happens. But when you look at, college athletes making up to $1 million right now, what happens with the House settlement, it just seems to me it stands to reason that, hopefully that will happen in the coming years. But again, as of now, those players are not eligible, and until there's a change from the NCAA, they will remain ineligible.
We have time for 1 or 2 more. I see Dave Ellis hand up there.
Hi, Don. Dave Ellis from TV6 and Fox UP and Marquette. Bowling Green's going to host a regional this year, so we actually get a real Midwest regional for once. If the system stays the same in the NCAA tournament, is the league doing anything to help some of the member schools be one of those host teams that can have a regional site that's closer in the footprint?
From the league standpoint, to my knowledge, no league is doing that. It's something we could discuss. Obviously, when you bid on a league, our facility, the institution has a number that they have to have. I think it's great that we're going to have one in the Michigan, Ohio area. I think that's the one area that's underbid, if you want to use that term. But that Michigan area, northern Indiana, Northwest Ohio is an obvious spot to have one of the regionals. And so as we move forward, hopefully there'll be more bids coming from those areas, because I think it's good for college hockey that, you know, we have a couple based in the East. We have somebody, a regional based in the Michigan, Ohio, Indiana area, and certainly in the Minnesota, Dakotas, Colorado area. I think that's good for college hockey and our fans. And so it's great that Bowling Green stepped up. And, you know, I've been to a regional, watched one in Toledo before. My son was playing. So it's a great venue and it's a great location. And hopefully we'll have a CCHA team in Toledo this spring.
Yeah, thanks, Barry. Yeah, as most of you know, this year was a rule change year. So the rules committee worked pretty tirelessly over the off season to try to get the rule book all buttoned up. And I'll just kind of go through some highlights of it. I'm not going to go through every change, but some of the ones that you might notice. There is a new face-off procedure this year where centers will be removed rather than the hand up in the air violation that was happening in the last 2 years. That will help clean up the face-offs, give the linesmen a little more tools to conduct a good face-off. The only exception to that is when there is a no change situation for the defensive team. For example, an icing or a net knocked off, puck out of play, hand pass, those things will go back to the violation where a hand goes up in the air type of thing. So that's a change. Another change to college hockey this year to align with other levels of hockey is if a goal is scored on a delayed penalty. In the past, that penalty was still being served. And this year, if a goal is scored on the delay situation, that penalty is not enforced. The only exception to that would be if there is our team already serving a penalty, there's a delayed penalty, that penalty would go into the penalty box. The penalty that was being served would come out, similar to how we went by in the previous rule books. So high sticking in college hockey this year is the determining factor is the height of the player's shoulders. So it is no longer the crossbar or 4 feet. This is all over the ice. So this is even in goal situations where player high sticks the puck, and as long as the puck is contacted at shoulder level or below, it is a good play. So gives the referees a little more frame of reference for them to call this call. As you probably know, it's a very difficult play to call once, and then also under a review situation, very difficult for them to determine depending on camera angles and those kind of things. So that is a new rule. So puck will be played at shoulder level or below all over the ice. So another one is another rule change is a continuous play concept. The continuous play just means that if a puck is shot on net, the goaltender has it, the referee blows the whistle, but the puck continues to go and doesn't stop moving, rolls into the net. Because the whistle was blown in the past, that would have been a dead play. If it's a continuous play and the puck continues to roll through the goaltender and into the net, that goal can be allowed. So that has been written into the rule book. It can have a continuous action if the goaltender looks like he has it, referee blows the whistle, it squirts behind him, and then another player knocks it in the net. That is not the case. So continuous play, you might see that play out this year. Another couple of pretty significant rule changes this year. First one is contact to the head. Contact to the head penalty, they removed the major only option for that. So they also added a minor penalty option for it. So if you saw the hit on Celebrini in the Frozen Four quarterfinal or a semifinal game, where the Denver defenseman stepped up and made contact with his face mask, it was just a good clean hit. That play would have been a major penalty in the past had it been reviewed. This year, if a player puts themselves in a vulnerable position and the contact is made to the head, a minor penalty option is there for the officials. There is no major only. It's either a minor or it is a major plus a game misconduct or disqualification. So it's important to note that the Rules Committee is not backing away from contact to the head. just giving more options when a player puts themselves in a vulnerable position, such as that one in the semifinal game, where the defenseman's just making a good, strong play, but there is head contact. So we don't want to allow head contact. We also don't want to be kicking players out of the game for really nothing that they did wrong. So checking from behind, similar type of thing where not much has been changed with this. There is a major only option for here. What they've put into this rule book this year is that if a player turns before contact or as contact is happening, it can be called a minor penalty. So if your player puts themselves in a vulnerable spot, turns, there's no extension, there's no elevation, there's no driving into the boards, then a minor penalty can be. It doesn't mean that it will be a minor penalty regardless. If there's extension, if there's elevation, if there's a player excessively put into the boards, that still can be called a major plus a game misconduct or a disqualification penalty. So those are the only changes. I think that as far as that goes, the only other items is a missed stoppage. For example, a puck off the netting or a hand pass or something like that leads directly to a goal needs to be in the offensive zone. It cannot be in the neutral zone or the defensive zone. So that is there's been situations where the hand pass happened in the neutral zone, leading right to a good scoring opportunity that in the past could have been overturned.
Having me on. 24 years right now, guys. This is Groundhog Day, but I think this is kind of right now in September right here. After this day, the season's even gonna come a lot quicker, and it's always a good day right here. As far as the Beavers, we're a veteran team this year. We have 15 upperclassmen, 8 seniors. Our leadership group, we're led by Jackson Judding, Eric Martin, Austin Yuppie, Yuri Vizinen. We're definitely, like I said, we're going to lean on our experience. I like our team in a lot of areas. And I think if you talk to a lot of coaches right now, everybody likes their team. Because again, the only thing is we're playing against ourselves right here. But I can, with the sample size that we have, looking in years past, I just think we have a lot of key ingredients. They got good size. We skate well. We have good skill. We compete hard. We have veterans in all positions. They're coachable. Like I said, I like our team. I like everything across the board. It's nothing maybe great, but again, it's just I think we have a really good, consistent group. I think 2 areas of strength for our team. In goal, Matthias Scholl, he's a battle-tested goalie, and we're strong up the middle. We've got some size. We've got some veteran leadership. We've got guys who are good on both sides of the puck up the middle, but we do have some holes to fill. We lost 4 of our top 5 scorers, 2 defensemen with 20-plus points. I mean, that's a lot of points that you lose right here. So, obviously some people are going to have to, they're going to have to fill that void right there. But again, we do have 89 goals back. When you take a look at our transfers and our returnees, we have 89 goals, and we're going to have to score by committee. But, sorry about that.
No.
Something happened right there. But anyway, we're going to have to score by committee just like a lot of teams. But I told our guys the other day, just give me a bunch of 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 goal scorers. We'll be fine. Everybody just pitches in. Everybody does their job, and we'll be just fine right there. And, we have a few things that we want to improve on from last year. Number one is we weren't very consistent last year. We want to be more of a consistent team from October to March. Last year, we were just basically a February and early March-based team, and that allowed us to have a little success near the end of the year. And we do need to improve our special teams. Our penalty kill for the last 2 years hasn't been what it was probably the previous 5 or 6. And we need to get better right there. And we need to get better on our power play. So those areas they're obviously, again, needs of improvement. And lastly, our league this year, again, just like it was last year, just like it is typically every year, like a lot of leagues, there's a number of teams who could win this league. And there's so many things that are going to play into it. Goaltending, special teams, staying healthy. And again, that's also the old Groundhog Day term is same stuff. Same stuff applies right there. But it's going to be a competitive league, top to bottom. And again, like I said, after this call today, it's kind of like we're one step closer to the beginning of the year.
Great. Thanks, Tom. Any questions for Tom? We'll start locally there. Jared, you're up.
Tom, I got two for you. The first one is I want to ask you about Jackson Jutting. He's a kid that came in 2 years ago as a transfer, and now he's the captain of your team. Just talk about how impressed you are with him and his ability to establish that leadership in such a short amount of time for your program.
Well, and again, Jared, you know Jets as well, and you know he was a captain for a reason. Our guys, he has control of that locker room, and again, like I said, we got a veteran group, but Jets is the key of that veteran group. He's wearing the C. He's an extension of the coaching staff. He's a voice in that locker room. He's got maturity. He plays the game the right way. He's honest. He competes. He's got talent. He's a guy that plays in all situations. He's a guy. The last minute, if we're up a goal, he's going to take that tap. There's a good chance he'll take that tap. If we're down a goal, good chance he's going to be on the ice. So he's going to see a lot of minutes, but he's earned those minutes.
And second for you, you talked about finding more consistency and how, you were a January, February, March team last year. But when you look at last year and the injuries that piled up in the beginning of the year, does that give you any sort of confidence knowing that, hey, you got through that, kind of those doldrums of the first half of the season with all those injuries and still ended up in the spot you're in?
We were banged up, and I forgot about that, to be honest with you. Like Scholz was out a while, Lufty was out a while, Judge, we had some injuries, there's no question. But again, I don't like to look at that, and nobody wants to hear that because, again, it's a new year. Whether, again, everybody's going to have injuries too, by the way, but whether you're injured or not injured, I think the biggest thing is you just want to make sure you maintain your standard of play. I guess that's what I look at, Jared. And it doesn't necessarily mean who's in the lineup, but whoever's in the lineup, maintain your standard of play. Play to your identity. And I think if you do that, at least that makes you feel good as a coach, because once you get your reinforcements back, you know that you're going to be in good shape. But you can't be a roller coaster. And we were a roller coaster last year. We were trying to figure ourselves out. And I remember the month of December, hey, even in January wasn't, it was a battle. It was a battle every game. And then, of course, we got into a rhythm and things obviously took shape. And a lot of times what happens, you got to be strong in a couple different areas, and we were strong in a couple different areas down the stretch.
Trent Singer.
Hey, Coach Sarator. This is Trent Singer with the Rink Live and Sioux Falls Live. I just I had a question. Last season you came into this media day and talked a lot about the parity in this conference, and I'm just curious. Do you sense a lot of that same parity this season, and how does it sort of differ from what you went into last season?
It's the same. And next year, I'm going to say the same thing. It's going to be Groundhog Day, guys. It's just the way it is. And our teams, like I do one of these, every year. We do how many goals are coming back in the league. That's always a little bit of, it's a small indicator. It's just one of those things you do to get ready. And it's amazing. There's a lot of consistency with goals coming back in the league. The only thing that's different now when you do that, there's so many transfers. So you got all those things to add up as well. And sometimes, again, it's hard to have consistency right there, but at least it's a barometer. So you look at scoring coming back, defenseman scoring coming back. Then you take a look at special teams. You have all these little, maybe self-created analytics, I guess is maybe the best way of putting it, Trent. But man, when you take a look at our league, it's just like, holy moly. And it can be one game, maybe two games. And those particular games are so critical. And I tell our guys all the time, the game October 5th, the game October 11th, the game October 12th, the game October 25th is just as important as the last weekend of February, especially when you only play 26 conference games and 34 regular season games. This isn't junior hockey. It's not the NHL. You're not playing 84. You're not playing 82. Every game is worth something. And in theory, the Stanley Cup playoffs start in October, because if you win the Stanley Cup, you got 4 rounds of best of 7. That could be 28 games. So it's critical. So you want to be consistent, and one game can make a difference. So you've got to be dialed in. I don't know if I answered that question there, Trent, but it's going to be just as competitive, and there's going to be just as much parity this year as there was last year. And I'm going to say the same thing next year. I guarantee it.
Anything else for Coach Saratori? All right, Trent, one more.
Yeah, one more for you, Coach. You know, you lost a couple defensemen here, and one to the transfer portal, and one who's gone on to play pro, and Kyle Loft. And I'm just curious, how do you feel like you filled those gaps with you know, the three freshmen that you brought in, you know, the existing guys that you have there, obviously, and then the one transfer you brought in.
Well, again, I like our group. I like our collective group right there. But to sit there and say, hey, somebody's going to take Lufty's place. Lufty played 5 years for us. And, you know, he came in maybe 195, you know, what pounds, and he left here 223 pounds. There's a lot of variables that play into it, Trent. But yeah, I mean, somebody's going to have to take Lufty's ice time. Are they going to have the offensive productivity? Good chance not. I mean, I don't know what you had. You guys got the stats in front of you. I didn't even look. I know he was high 20s. What was he, 28 points or something last year? So yeah, maybe somebody's not going to have his productivity, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, that the minutes that they play, you know, can't be comparable. And that's what you look at. And we do have 6 defensemen returning. We got some battle-tested defensemen, and we really like all 3 of our freshman defensemen. So to say a freshman defenseman is going to be like the guys that we lost, that's not fair as well. So every year you're going to have players come in, and every year you're going to graduate players. And every year somebody's going to have to eat the minutes up of the guys that left. That's just the way it is. And you know, we've been doing this a long time, and you can't worry about it. You just got to worry about the guys you have in that locker room, coach the heck out of them, develop them, and let's drop the puck. That's how I look at it.
Appreciate your coverage of the CCHA and college hockey. Obviously, it's very appreciated by all of us in this group. And I think I heard Tom kind of mention this is the next step, right? It's another checklist item in our calendar that means things are really coming forward here. So we're looking forward to it. And in terms of our team for next year, we're a much more experienced team, you know, in an era where there's not a lot of young teams right now because of that 5th year of eligibility. And you look at Augustana last year, I think they had 5, 6 fifth-year guys. We've had 1 5th year in my whole time here. So we had 11 first-year players last year. We were a very young team. And there's just challenges with that, no matter how you slice it up. When you're a young team and in an era when everybody's old, there's some challenges there. So we're a lot more experienced team this year. We like that about it. Some valuable development last year and a little bit more experience, led by 8 seniors. You know, 2 of those seniors are wearing a letter for us. Our captain, Grant Heinman's, you know, an unbelievable young man, a great leader. He's not a guy that maybe shows up in the score sheet with assists and goals, but plays in a lot of critical situations, a great defender, often plays against the other team's top line. And you can't, if you ever have a chance to hear this young man speak or be around him, he's an unbelievable human being. So he'll lead us in our locker room and have the pulse of this team, which is really important. Dawson Tritt, another one of our seniors, assistant captain, will join him. You know, Timo Backus is not wearing a letter, but he's another one of those critical seniors. Both Dawson and Timo have played every situation since they've been here 3-4 years ago. Both those guys, Grant's at 95 college games played. Dawson and Timo, I think, are both at 106 or just over 100 games. We haven't had a lot of that. And, you know, we play teams like the Pietla Twins and other guys around the country that played 140 games. That's a lot of experience. It's tough to overcome. So we finally have some of that in our lineup, and those guys that I mentioned will be a big piece of that. Obviously, the other big piece up front, and there's others taking a step, new guys coming in, but our assistant captain, junior Connor Milburn, I think Perry just mentioned, preseason co-player of the year and on the first team, and certainly deserving of that. He's the top returning point per game player in the league. Extremely motivated. He's had a good summer. He's a 6'3", 6'4" guy. He's always been a little bit lean. He's stronger. He's put on some good weight. Coming off a really strong camp with Vegas, his NHL camp, and that's a big motivating factor for him. So there's no question he's a very complete player, as evidenced as the co-defensive player of the year as well. So Connor Milburn will be a big piece of our success, and I think we've got a lot of pieces around him to help drive that. Obviously, he'll get a little bit more attention this year. You know, he had Jared Westcott on one of his wings last year, who led the league in scoring. So Millie's going to have to find some different ways to make things happen, and we'll have to get creative to put him in those situations and build the right lines around him. Same thing on our D-core, much more experienced D-core. We played 3 freshman D every game last year, some games 4 freshman D. Now we only have 1 freshman D in this year's lineup. Adam Barone is a guy who'll come in and compete. He's done a really good job early on. But those returning guys, Nate Schweitzer, Evan Bushy, Brian Huggins, Jack Blanchett, all ready to take a step forward. We'll need that from them. And I think our transfer defenseman, Jacob Conrad's another one in that mix that had a redshirt year that's looked really good. but 2 transfer D that will come in, add experience. Johnny Draskinis out of Michigan and Mike Brown out of Merrimack. Both good size, tough. They're tough players. They're going to fit in well. They're going to lead us in a lot of good ways. And I think we've upgraded our D core, both with guys getting more experience, so that returning group, but those guys in the transfer portal. And then lastly, just a quick look at our goaltending. You know, that's probably the question mark in terms of not a ton of experience back there. If Easton Hassett played a handful of more games, and his minutes qualified in the CCHA or nationally, he would have clearly led the CCHA in both goals against average and save percentage. Probably a bad coaching job by myself to not get him more opportunities and more minutes with the job he had or job he did. But if Easton can play even close to that level, he'll be one of the top goalies in the CCHA and country. So he's going to get some opportunities early on to try to replicate what he did there in those opportunities he did get. But we have Grant Riley behind him also through the transfer portal. He spent a year backing up Devin Levy and then the 4th round draft pick Cameron Whitehead. So it's been tough for him to get some starts, but he's done a really good job. A competitive goalie, tremendous size. And then Rourke Appleby, our freshman goalie, has been kind of as we thought. He was the CCHL goalie of the year, playoff MVP a couple years ago. Fortunately got hurt late last year and couldn't finish the playoff run with West Kelowna in the BCHL, but a very athletic, very capable goalie who loves to compete. So it's a quick look at our team, you know, experience, great locker room, great culture there, great leadership, and we think we've got a lot of good pieces to get back to the top home ice where we were just, I think, 1 win away from that last year with a young team.
Thank you, Damon. We have a question from Jared Ribedo.
Yeah, I got 2 of them for you, Damon. I want to start with the experience that you touched on, and does it almost feel like you guys are maybe ahead of schedule right now, kind of in this preseason process in terms of, you know, where you are at, you know, most years with this kind of added experience from that, you know, that you brought back from last year?
Jared, I think one thing that, in some ways, yes, but I think also some things we've learned from that WCHA championship, some other strong teams, every year's new. So even though there is more experience, you know, there's some guys in there who can take ownership of it. You know, you have to start over. You have to rebuild. You have to do it properly. You can't skip steps. So yes and no. But I do know where we are ahead of schedule, Jared. Is just, you know, I'm a big believer in your players leading your team if you're going to have a championship level team. And again, we have the guys in that locker room that can lead from a player's perspective, not waiting for a coach to step in, not waiting for somebody else to take leadership. They can do that. So we're certainly ahead of schedule in that area, Jared.
And kind of to follow up on that, with this group, you know, they made a run to the Mason Cup semifinals last year, and you said, you know, Bemidji State was just on a mission. But, you know, how much kind of fuel and motivation can they take from getting to that spot next year and hoping to take it at least one step further?
Yeah, I think it's critical. You know, I think that's a really important piece of it. You've got to learn, you've got to be there. You know, obviously you have to go on the road. And I think that came down to the last game of the regular season. Had we won, I think we were a home ice team, and but we didn't. We had a couple of lulls. Tom also talked about consistency, and that was an area at times. You know, had 1 or 2 off weekends that really cost us. So I think that consistency lesson and that, you know, what does it take to win in the playoffs lesson, they're both sitting there, and that can be a big motivating factor for what we want to do this year. Thanks, Jared.
Thank you.
Dave Ellis.
David.
Dave, you out there? Trent. We'll go back to Dave.
Hey, Coach, Trent Singer with the Rink Live. You know, you touched on Connor, and I'm curious to know, you know, just his to have him back as that 1C with Dawson as well on that wing. I mean, how valuable is that to have those two back, and just the chemistry that they bring back into the season?
That's huge. I mean, again, you know, he was only a sophomore last year and just had a huge breakout year. And I would still say it's tip of the iceberg for Connor. And fortunately, he's a young man that's motivated on his own. You know, we'll certainly do our part as well. But, you know, he wasn't resting on the laurels of last year and having a big breakout year offensively or some of the accolades he won. So he had a great summer. Like I said, he's bigger, he's stronger, his shots improved this year. So I think there's no question he has a chance to, add upon a breakout year and just be a really tremendous player for us. And, still just a junior, but it's big. And Dawson Tritt's a big piece of that, and Timo, some other guys. So we're just getting to the point now, Trent, where we're starting to establish some line work, some chemistry. Those guys played together a huge chunk of last year, so they're there. But we're looking at those guys, as major catalysts for our team.
And then one more here from Dave, I believe he's here now.
Yeah, hi, Wits. Dave Ellis from TV6 and Fox UP and Marquette. Statistically, you're one of the best scoring teams in the conference last year, really efficient scoring. The one really glaring miss is in the face-off circle, that you're fighting from behind and having to go hunt the puck all the time. How do you get better possession and let that efficient offense go to work a little easier?
Well, again, Dave, some of that was that inexperience. Again, Connor was a key player, but only a sophomore, and he's such a long player. He doesn't have some of the strength of some of those fifth years out there, some other guys with lower leverage points. So I think a lot of it's that way. We played, I think, 2 freshman center a lot of nights as well. Those guys will get a little bit more experience. We've got some flexibility between a guy like Dawson Tritt, Timo Backus can play center or wing. Johnny Harrington can play center or wing. So I think, Dave, we're hoping a little bit of that is just that experience factor. We come back, we're a little bit older, a little bit wiser. We've been through those battles. You learn how to cheat a little bit better. Obviously, we're also looking at, the change in rules where we're not getting guys tossed out. When you have 11 freshmen in your lineup and then you get a freshman in there against a fifth year or fourth year, that can be challenging. So hopefully, Dave, we can coach them better, but also some experience will help us between the face-off dots.
Yeah, this is a totally different experience for me and my staff. Obviously, we've got 24 new faces, 15 freshmen, and just only 4 players returning with limited games played. So right now, I think we're treating it, what I'm excited about it the most, we're kind of treating it as an NHL expansion team. Everything's foreign, everything's fresh. So it's a lot of teaching, a lot of learning, and we're just going to be culture-based right now. We've been doing a lot of things to build trust with one another, player to player, coach to player, and player to coach. And before we get anything into expectations and anything, we've got to learn more about each other. And I can't tell you a whole lot about our group other than it's getting tighter every single day. Real good energy, real good effort so far. They're really molding together as a group, but when we get on the ice with them, we're going to have to do a lot of repetition work in terms of getting our system straightened out. But what we do like is we do get up and down the sheet pretty good. We get after it. We just gotta tighten up the structure a little bit as we move day to day. We haven't spent a whole lot of time with them on the ice, but it's a real high energy group. And right now we're still kind of filtering through. We haven't picked captains yet. We had a vote there yesterday. We're going to discuss things today. As a staff, we don't have too many upperclassmen, so our leadership group that, as it stands, is going to be important for us. So we need to sort through that a little bit. And again, it's just about getting better every single day. I know that's an old cliche, but it really applies to us with all the new faces that we have at this point. And we have been doing a good job of that. And you're going to see a lot of ups and downs with this young team, as you do with any other team in this league. And our approach is day to day, game to game. Let's worry about the process, not the results, and the rest will take care of itself.
All right. Thanks, Dave. We have some questions lined up for you here. First, Jack Hittinger.
Hey, Dave, this is Jack Hittinger from CCHA. I know you mentioned that's almost like an NHL expansion team or maybe a first-year program that you're kind of starting from scratch a little bit. I guess the difference would be, obviously, NMU has a pretty long history and tradition, and you're part of that tradition. So what sorts of ways are you sort of drawing back on like the NMU hockey tradition and you being an alum to sort of get the guys in line with how you want NMU hockey to play? I guess like we got to play NMU hockey. Do you have sort of a philosophy about what Wildcat hockey is you want to be, I guess?
Yeah, no, you know what, Jack, really good question. And we were hired a little bit late there, and obviously our roster is decimated. So we wanted kids here for the right reasons. And a big part of that is learning what the UP is all about and what Northern Michigan is all about. And that was me and our staff selling it. So what we've been doing is a lot of culture building, as I explained a little bit earlier, getting to know the UP and the people. So we've been out in the community quite a bit, and just to getting to know the type of people in the community, how they back it, how they support it, getting to know them on a one-on-one basis. And that's been real important the last 3 weeks. And our guys are really grasping and understanding of what the UP is about, and in particular, obviously Marquette and the area, whether it's out fishing, we've done that. We've went camping. We just had a Red Wing alumni game against the Upper United team. So we got to know some of the fans that way. So they're really getting a deeper appreciation of what the people are about here. And then, I had one of the former players here, a good friend of mine, talked about the community and the culture. Is Jim Hiller, who's coaching the LA Kings. He was in town, he married a gal, and he met with our group and just talked about how unique and special this place is, and the facilities that go along with it. So we tied that together. And again, you're just sharing information for these guys. And so far, the guys have been real excited. They love it. Everybody does this time of the year. And again, it's learning and being informed of what our culture is about and how we've had tradition in the past in terms of loving and having pride in our program. And our guys are getting a pretty good taste of that. So our approach is sharing that information with them. They take it in, grasp it, and take it on a day-to-day approach.
Thanks, Coach. Kevin McNulty, floor is yours.
Thanks. Hey, Dave, it's Kevin McNulty from TV6. I'm just wondering, as you spent the summer putting this roster together, what was the most challenging part of getting these 28 guys together, other than the fact that, there were only 4 when you got here?
Well, the most challenging part, again, it's tough to find hockey players in July. I think we started with 5 or 6 guys. Like I said, we only had 4 returners from last year. So in about a 3.5-week period, we were able to get to 28 players on a roster. So the challenge was just time consuming, and talking to agents, talking to your network of people you trust, and some of the kids you may be familiar with that might be the right fit. But we wanted guys that were jumping through the phone, because right now we can present, hey, we're a great program with tradition. We have a heck of an opportunity here to get minutes, to get playing minutes. We don't have a whole lot of returners that have had minutes in the past, so everything's going to be earned. And there's always people and kids that are left that are or been overlooked that are just dying for an opportunity. And when we presented it to them, hey, we've got an opportunity here. There's nobody really slotted in as first, second, third line, or top D pairing, or top goaltenders. You got to earn it. So what we presented to them was the opportunity that's ahead of them.
Thanks, Coach. We got to have a question from Dave Ellis.
Schick, how much is your personnel going to determine what kind of style you can play this year?
Yeah, that's always the challenge, I think, as a coach. You have your own style of play, obviously, and you have to have players that you've recruited to fit that style. That's maybe one of the challenges, but we want skaters. We want guys to get after it, forecheck. We want to be hard to play against, but we want to play freely and be able to make plays. That's been presented to our group. Now, can we execute all that at one time? No, that's going to take time. But we do want to be, again, Wildcat hockey has always been aggressive, in-your-face hockey, and the ability to make plays. And it's going to start with our D zone first. We got to be tight and tough in our D zone so we can have pucks. We got to have juice to go play on the offense and allow our guys to make plays within our structure. And that's going to take a lot of time there, Dave. So patience is going to be a key with the coaching staff, and we want to make sure our guys handle it. It's going to take time to get the results that we want, and that's going to be the up and down in the youthfulness of our team. You're going to see a lot of ups and downs, but at the end of the day, once we get through it, you're going to measure us game to game, week to week, month to month, before Christmas and after Christmas. We want to look like a real good hockey team in the second half and be playing our best hockey late in the season.
Last one here from Jared.
Hey, Coach. I think, when you look at a team that it brings in this many new players and is going through all of this process so late in the offseason, it kind of brings a negative aura around a team from a media perspective. But in turn, do you think that this group kind of coming together like this and going into this season the way that they are can somewhat be galvanizing and, motivating for them to kind of exceed their expectations and really prove that, hey, we can still compete in this league despite us all being new to this league.
Yeah, real good, Jared. Real good information there. Exactly what you said. I actually don't think with this group there's a negative tone at all. I think quite the opposite. I think it's revived and gave second lives to other people that are other programs that didn't necessarily play them or utilize them. So they got a bit of a chip on their shoulder than other guys that are brought in. They had no other situations. Maybe it was Division III hockey or U Sports back in Canada. So it's a life jacket to them, a second life. So they're highly motivated. They're anxious to get going. They're working hard. They're trying to make first impressions on the coaches. So I actually think there's a real positive vibe with our group, and they know there's minutes there to take, and they got to earn it. So they're trying to make an impression every day, and I think it's been a real positive approach. And our group has done a real good job knowing who they are right now. They understand it's going to take some time to get to where we want to get to. So I actually think it's been real positive with this group, real positive with the coaching staff. We know we have a lot of work to do, but it's a great situation for us, I think, as a total rebuild, because everything's new, everything's fresh. It's going to challenge us as coaches, but I think that's going to make us better in the end.
Thank you.
I guess we have time for one more quick one from Kevin.
All right, thanks, Dave. Just the couple weeks you guys have been together, have you been able to see some leaders emerge? And have you identified any of those? Despite your youth and lack of ice time for some of the returners.
Yeah, you know what? We're taking our time on that. There is some leaders in there. I don't want to point out any certain individuals yet till we announce that, but I'll just give you an example of that. When you come into situations normally in a year, you got a lot of returning players. And when we're in practice right now, your upperclassmen in your leadership group, they drive the practice, right? And that's what gets rhythm in your practice. That's what gets systems down a little bit quicker when the right guys are leading and driving your practice. Right now, as I mentioned, everything's foreign. There's new drills, new coaching staff, new messaging, new way of doing things. So people are just kind of looking around. Who's going to go to the front of this drill and not screw it up? So there's a feeling out period, and we're getting over the hump a little bit at a time because we're replicating certain drills until we get it right, until we get the details. So there is guys trying to do that the right way. It's just going to take a little bit more time, and we'll find out, I think, by the end of the week, who we're going to announce as captains. There is some guys in mind. We probably got 4 to 7 guys in our group that the guys voted upon, and then, like I said, we'll sit down as a staff and come up with a game plan and probably have that announced by the end of the week.
Welcoming Dave Shayak and Dennis Williams with Bowling Green. Dave just preceded me, but welcoming them back to the league. They've both been in the conference before. I know both of them, and they're going to do outstanding work at Northern Michigan and Bowling Green. I'd like to welcome Byron Syndergaard to the league office. As many know, our league is extremely well run, and from top to bottom, Don Lucia does an excellent job. Marco Hunt with the officials, and I know Byron will be a good addition to the front office there. Regarding our team, and I had the opportunity to listen a little bit to Dave, and not to the extent that they have so many new players coming in, but not too far behind either. We've got 14, half our roster's new to us. 9 of those players are freshmen coming in, and 5 are transfers that we got out of the portal. So, we're in a bit of a feeling out process too. It's kind of exciting, to be honest, working with these new kids, and we've had some of the same experiences with our team that I think Dave alluded to with the Wildcats, and that is, the terminology is different. when the kids transfer, why a lot of them have experience at other schools. The terminology here is different, expectations are different, the culture is different, and you know, we're lucky though, we do have a good group of guys returning, and a lot of good leaders within that group that have returned. Travis Shouty's been named our captain, and he's done an outstanding job. We've held off naming assistants, and we'll probably do so either later this week or next week as well. But when we integrated so many new players into our program, we don't want to rush that process. You know, up front, I think it's going to be more of a scoring by committee. Overall, we would like to improve our defensive play. That becomes probably, you know, rule number one for us. It's the first thing we want to tackle. I don't feel like the last couple seasons, our defensive player, defensive structure has been up to expectations and Bulldog hockey, what we've done in the past. And you know, I put that on myself. Our goaltending in the past has been very good. I just think we've given up, you know, the percentage of grade A opportunities against us has been really, the percentage of those has been too high. So we want to address that. We want to be better defensively. But I do think up front we've got the ability to score, but it'll be more by committee. We return a lot of players, Zach Fairmouth, Caleb Ergay, Jacob Dirks. I look at all three of those players, as well as some others I didn't mention, as being able to contribute on the offense. You know, they've been around the program now 3, 4, even 5 years with Jacob Dirks. So our expectations for them are very high. We brought in 3 transfers, and Cole Birch from Western, Max Itagaki from West Point, and Gavin Best from Michigan State, and all 3 of them bring experience. And I look for those players to be somewhere in our top, obviously top 4, top 9 forwards. And then on defense, that's where we return a lot of our experience with Travis Shouty, Nico DeVita, Andrew Knoll, and Trevor Talene. And Trevor was a freshman a year ago, and he's really come on. Matter of fact, the entire group has. So we feel pretty good about our D-core. That's probably the biggest question mark. We have 3 new goaltenders. One's a transfer in Noah West from the University of Michigan. And, you know, a little bit we've been on the ice to date. He's looked very good in net, as well as 2 freshmen, Martin Lundberg from Norway and Connor McDonough out of the North American Hockey League. And both of them look good as well. And, you know, I think it's Noah's job going into the season, but the other 2 are extremely talented, and I know are going to be pushing for playing time as well.
Thanks, Coach. We have a question for you from Dave Ellis.
Hey, Bob, Dave Ellis from TV6 and Fox UP and Marquette. Great to see you again. When you look at your numbers from last year in the league, you're at the bottom in both power play and penalty kill percentage, but you're 10 points away from being on the top. So just that little bit of improvement, can that really give you a push to make you move up the standings a little bit?
Yeah, obviously that's another area that we really want to drill down on. I think the penalty kill will be the easiest thing. We return a lot of penalty killers from a year ago. I alluded to earlier that we really did get good goaltending last year. So goaltending wasn't the issue. You know, I just think we were tentative at times. I know we were one of the least penalized teams in college hockey last year. So, you know, keeping that will help us, you know, quite a bit in terms of power play goals against. But we've got room for improvement on our penalty kill. We're going to look to restructure it and make it more of a point of emphasis and a point of pride. Power plays are funny things, they're streaky, but again, that's an area that we look to exploit as well.
Thanks, Coach. We have Trent Singer with a question for you.
Hey, Coach, this is Trent Singer with the Rink Live. You know, in talking about Travis, can you sort of expound on him a little bit? You know, how has he sort of owned that role of being the captain of this team and really taking that on this season?
Well, yeah, Travis is just a great person, both on and off the ice. He's very focused. He's got the ability to push himself and push other players. To me, he's a bit of a throwback player in that, you know, he's just a complete rink rat, likes to be around. I think in this day and age too, when you look at the amount of kids going into the portal and transferring, for a player like Travis, that's not even in the equation. Why I think he's one of the best defensemen in college hockey. His idea is to stay put and help us turn the program around and get us back to the top where we were accustomed to being not too long ago. So great leadership. He leads by example on the ice, in the weight room, and more importantly, he's quietly he'll pull people along. He's not one to get up and call someone out in front of everybody else, but he is one, if he sees an issue, who's willing to address that issue up front. He's great in the classroom, great in the community, and poster player for us is what we want all our guys to be like.
Jared?
Hi, Coach. For doing this for over 30 years, you've built up an impressive resume and a laundry list of accolades. But I gotta ask, what is it that keeps you coming back? What is it about the program? What is it about college hockey that makes you want to keep doing this year after year and motivates you to keep coming back to this program?
Well, first, I have been around for a long time, and I've spent the entire time at Ferris State and absolutely love the university, love what it stands for, its mission, in terms of having applied education, which I believe wholeheartedly in. So that's easy. The people that I work with on a daily basis, but they make it easy, and that's the people in our administration. And then beyond that, though, what I take the greatest joy in is working with the players. I find it unbelievably motivating. You talk and you listen to some of the older coaches, not only hockey, but everywhere else. There's been a lot of changes in collegiate athletics with the transfer portal. Obviously at first it's disheartening. But then if you sit back and embrace it and say, okay, this is the new normal. This is the way it's going to be. How do we make this work best for Ferris State University? And it kind of changes your perspective on things. And if anything, it's kind of given me a shot of motivation. It's something now that I've embraced and I enjoy. You can't take it personal if a player wants to leave. You just got to keep going about business. The important thing, though, I think for everybody to keep in mind is at the end of the day, the object of this exercise is to have our kids graduate from college. And that's the one thing that does concern me with the transfer portal. If kids transfer multiple, 2, 3, 4 times, are they going to be walking out of their collegiate experience with a degree? And I think that's the one thing we all want to make sure we keep an eye on, and that we're in it for a reason. We believe in education. We believe in athletics and hockey. And I don't, you've got to remind yourself, let's not lose sight of the most important thing, and that's the educational component of it.
Dave?
Thank you.
Bob, can you touch on the game you're going to play against Lake Superior State in Traverse City in November?
Yeah, we're excited about that. That was that was brought to us by Lake Superior State. That's their home game. They wanted to move it to the area. It made complete sense. Matter of fact, this is something I'd like to talk to Damon about, continuing it moving forward, whether it be one of our home games next year, or maybe we each get an exhibition game. Maybe we take that game to Traverse City. But Traverse City is great town, unique town. Matter of fact, I was just up there this past weekend. It's a beautiful area, and it makes a lot of sense for Ferris State and Lake State to have this game there. We each have an enormous amount of alums in the area, so there'll be a lot of interest in it. And also, we each recruit not athletes, but students to our institutions. And so it's a good for us to get in that footprint, us being Ferris State and Lake State. It's going to help grow college hockey and hockey in general on the west side of the state. In my 33 years here at Ferris, I've seen hockey, everywhere from Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, Muskegon, Ludington, Cadillac, and Traverse City. I've seen that corridor, 131 corridor, if you will. I've seen it grow, and we're the beneficiaries as we're getting more players from the west side of the state. And so if we can do something to help promote hockey and college hockey, I think it's great. And I commend Lake Superior State and Damon Witten for having the idea to move that game there.
Last one from Trent.
Yeah, Coach, just touching on the goaltending situation a little bit. You lost a couple in the portal, picked up a couple freshmen and bring in a transfer. I'm just curious, I find the formula unique because Augustana kind of implemented a little bit last year with bringing in a veteran goalie and then having a couple freshmen. Maybe just in your past and maybe just this season as well. Do you feel like that's sort of been a winning formula in a lot of ways to bring in this more experienced goalie to sort of lead a younger goalie group?
I do. I think if at all possible, if you could have a veteran goaltender that can help the kids. Obviously, this is Noah's 5th year at collegiate hockey, and he's seen a lot. He's been everything from the starter to the backup goaltender. Nothing will be new to him. He's very talented in of himself, but he's going to be able to, the freshmen, particularly you've got Martin Lundberg, who's from Norway and is not that familiar with college hockey. I think Noah can really do a world of good for him and for Connor. It's not on the ice necessarily, but it's the mental side of the game, the mental preparation that you have to be successful at the collegiate level, the importance of rest, the importance of making sure you stay up with your studies. So I think Noah will do a great job with that. And hopefully along the way too, he'll do a great job in the pipes. And I am pretty excited by both Martin and Connor, though, as I've watched, a little bit of I've seen of them. They're both extremely talented, really different in terms of their makeup. Martin's very athletic, but size wise, right around that 6-foot mark, where Connor's 6'5", maybe not quite as athletic. He doesn't move around the net quite as well yet. I know that's an area that Dave Sensor will be working with him on. But both in their own unique ways have a lot of potential. And while we're waiting for them to develop and when their time comes, I think Noah's going to be a great mentor for both of them.
Thanks, Barry. Well, obviously, very excited to be back at my alma mater and having the opportunity to coach such a prestigious program. Being back at Bowling Green has been nothing but positive since I arrived here in the summertime. And as we prepare for the upcoming season, we're very fortunate where we didn't lose anybody in the transfer portal. We had all eligible returners coming back to Bowling Green. We added a few freshmen ourselves. We had 3 freshmen join us, 3 out of the transfer portal as well, for 6 newcomers coming here to Bowling Green. And I think really when you have a transition like you have in a coaching change, I think a lot of credit and accolades have to go to the coaching staff. Curtis Carr, Stavros Beskaris, and Dylan Schoen did an unbelievable job throughout the transition, as well as the players. Sticking to the course, staying at Bowling Green, and we're in an era where players can move and transfer as they like. They all stayed put, which is a real positive, and I think just definitely helps you show. It definitely shows you how strong of a culture that BG hockey has right now. So we're excited about the season. We're going to have to rely on a committee of goal scoring. Obviously, scoring such a premium in today's game, not just in the CCHA, but throughout all of hockey. More and more teams are playing better defense. They're well coached, and we're going to have to generate a lot of our offense through structure and like I said, by committee throughout it. But we're definitely excited about what we have coming in with our returning, and more so just the mindset of our guys. I think they have a lot that they want to continue to build off of from last year and show that we can be a strong hockey club this season.
Thanks, Coach. We have a few questions lined up already for you. We'll start off with Michael Burwell.
Hey, Coach. Michael Burwell with the Toledo Blade. Just kind of expanding on, the fact that you basically have the entire roster back from last year. I mean, just how important was that for you to keep this roster intact? And just what does it say about how close this team is?
Oh, Michael, I think it's always important to keep the nucleus together. They as a group, they've gone through a lot. They've gone through highs and lows throughout a season, stuff that we can continue to build on. And as I said, I think as we move forward, it'll pay dividends for our group. And the fact that they all stayed, I think, speaks testament to what they think of each other as a group, what they can accomplish as a group. And from a coaching standpoint, that's reassuring, because at the end of the day, I can't promise you how many goals we'll score or how the puck will bounce. But when we have a group that's committed to each other, we definitely can push each other to become better hockey players. And for me, what I've been able to see is a high level compete, high level respect for each other. They have lots of humility. You know, we play to a certain standard, and they've just been a thirst of energy and wanting to know and learn the game. So big kudos to those returners, the whole group. You know, we're looking forward to a big season, and I know we're going to rely heavily on those seniors.
Thank you.
Jared Rubedo.
Hey, coach. You talked about how important your assistant coaches and the staff in general was at, you know, retaining every eligible transfer. But I want to ask, what was your process in this? And, you know, obviously joining this program again, and then, you know, getting all of the retention you had in terms of the transfer portal. What steps did you have to take as a new head coach in that?
Well, I definitely think the biggest part was having them understand. I talked to them about trust, and I said, you can never trust a person that tells you you can trust me. So I have to build I have to build trust. I have to earn their trust. And but the one thing when I talk to them is, give me time to invest in you as a player and as a person. With today's athletes, I believe that, you know, your wins will take care of themselves if you invest in the student athlete. And one of the things I said to the players, I'm a big proponent on skill development. So how do we get better as a team? We utilize our opportunity on the ice to make players better, and we invest in them. And I was hoping that message sunk in, and it was a positive message to them, which it did, which was great. And so as we move forward, you know, they were calm about it. And I said, in today's game, in college hockey, like, to keep everybody, I just think it speaks volume of the character of this group. And to not, like you said, not to have anybody, you know, jump ship or move to a different school or look for a different opportunity. Again, it speaks volume for that group, but it just as much speaks volume for that staff throughout it, because without the staff of Curtis Carr, Stavros Pascaris, Dylan Schoen, they did an unbelievable job keeping all players at bay until the transition happened and occurred, and that I could get in here and have an opportunity to speak to them.
And you know, one more for you here. When you look at last year's group, there was a balanced scoring across the board from your forwards, but it seemed like there was maybe you know, a lack of having a line that could go out there and get you a goal. I'm just, when you're looking at the kind of the outlook for the season, you know, where's that going to come from in terms of maybe an added scoring boost from a group of 3 guys, a group of 6 guys, in terms of, you know, finding that way to maybe see that boost offensively?
Yeah. Well, Jared, it's a great question, because, you know, really everybody's still new to me. You know, I've had a lot of people ask me, what are my thoughts so far? I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure where we stand in the CCHA. I'm not sure if we're, you know, in the lower half, middle, upper half in terms of players. Obviously, we have some guys coming back that were able to produce a little bit more than others. But the one thing we've told them is those points don't come with you this year. It's a full clean slate here. There's no one that I personally brought in that I outside of the transfers, you know, but there's no, like, it's a clean slate, and we got to earn our ice time. You got to earn your trust. And for us right now, we're still trying to balance out who are going to be those guys that, you know, when the game's on the line, that we can put out there to have an impact offensively. And that's going to take time. It's going to take time with me. It's going to take time with the players to earn that trust. But obviously, adding players like Matt V. Kavanaugh from Northern Michigan, Ville Immonen, and Jackson Niedermeyer up front, all 3 veteran players that done very well in college hockey. We're hoping that they can continue that transition, come into our system, and be able to help attribute to that and being a top player for us.
Thank you.
Right.
Hey, Coach, Trent Singer with the Rink Live. You know, I think one thing it's kind of gone under the radar a little bit. I mean, you do have a lot of experience on this team. I mean, you have 8 seniors and 4 fifth-year guys. How is that reflected just kind of in the culture and what you've seen from this team in these early practices?
Well, I can tell you, Trent, it's totally different because when you're talking to a 23-year-old man, you're going to have a conversation and get good feedback and dialogue, right? So those guys have been setting the bar for us. They've came every day, first to the rank. This is their last kind of kick of the can, and for a lot of them, they haven't had a winning season. They haven't had that experience. So our job as a team, our job as freshman, sophomore, junior, is to help send those players off on the right foot. They're part of the foundation, the building blocks. And as I told them, it's going to be up to them though to continue to monitor the locker room, to hold guys accountable, to continue to uphold our standard throughout it. And from there, we just got to drop the puck and play. I know they're excited. And always too, with the coaching change is always nerve wracking, for everybody. And so we're still going through some of those right now, those feelings. But I can tell you those seniors and the fifth year guys have been absolutely remarkable to coach. They're all professionals in the sense that they come to the rink, they want to learn, they take care of themselves, they're great at school, they're great in the community. So when you have a group like that we can just focus on hockey and everything else is taken care of, it's really refreshing from a coaching standpoint.
Couple more quick ones. Michael, back to you.
Hey, Coach, just looking at one of your freshmen coming in, Maxwell Martin was obviously the NAHL MVP and forward of the year last year for Wisconsin. Really impressive offensively. Just, what does he bring to the table? And I guess just how important was it, for you and the coaching staff to, have him stay committed and join BGSU?
Yeah, obviously he was a player, with the other freshmen, making sure not just our returners that we had a freshman reporting and coming in, and Max has been great. I think the one thing with what Max brings is he's he's a flex player. Obviously, he put points up in the North American League, did very well, and had great success. But this year's another jump, and in terms of getting settled into college hockey, he's going from playing against boys to men now. And the one thing Max has, he has a fallback plan. He plays hard. He's physical. Watching him on the ice, he's first on pucks. He gets to the net front. You can see why he had success at that level. He has very good details and tangibles to his game right now. And now it's just a matter of how quickly can that transfer and adjust to college hockey. As we all know, it's a big jump for a lot of these players. But the way he's been practicing, the way he's been competing, he's definitely going to have a great opportunity to step right in and be an impact player, not just this year, but for the next 4 years.
Thanks.
Jack, I believe is our last one. Last we have time for here.
Hey, Dennis, sorry. This is Jack Hittinger from USCHO. I know we've been talking a little bit this offseason in general about major juniors and the effect that potential could have on the game. But I guess as somebody that's coming directly from major juniors, you had some direct experience with how it's going to go. And I know you don't speculate on that thing right now since you're worried about your team. But I guess my question is, what sorts of coaching things can you take from being in major juniors? Any differences and similarities that you can maybe use coaching at BG? And I guess my second question is related to that. How does that sort of affect your recruiting yourself? Like, do you think you might be able to get some guys that could go major junior that say, hey, I'm at BG now. You might want to come play college hockey. I think it's sort of an interesting thing that we don't see a whole lot of the major junior coaches coming to college hockey. And I know you've got experience at every level, so you've sort of got a unique perspective on that.
Yeah. So to answer your first question, so I have it right, it was just regarding the coaching philosophies of major junior and what I could bring to college kind of in that aspect. So hockey's hockey. That's the best part about it. Whether I'm coaching here, I've got to coach at every league out there, from the North American League, USHL, college, major junior, world juniors, whatever it is. It's all the same. To me, it's all about getting the team to buy into a certain way you want to play, to have a clear identity and live up to that identity. So one thing our group has talked about is we want to be a relentless group. We want to bend and not break, and we're going to face highs and lows throughout a year, and we got to be able to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You hear those sayings all the time. So for us, from coming from the Western League to here, not much will change in the coaching. Development will be key. Working on making the athlete a better athlete will help us eventually, hopefully, turn any losses or close games into wins. And then your last question was regarding coming back. Sorry, I kind of lost you there a little bit.
just talking about your experience being in the Western League, you maybe have some more connections and maybe connections with players that might not have thought about coming to college hockey before, but maybe they know you and you could maybe try and get some of those guys, or some coaches in Canada that
Yeah.
could maybe you get some guys of a different caliber that could maybe decide to come to BG instead of staying in Canada and going and playing Major Junior.
Yeah, well, obviously, like anything, kids all have choices now, and obviously, I've spent 7 years in the Western Hockey League in the CHL, and have a lot of friends in the Western League, coaches and GMs along the Ontario Hockey League and Quebec League as well. And at the end of the day, I've said this when I was a Major Junior, and I'll say the same now. I don't think there's a right or wrong path. It's for each individual family and kid at the end of the day, and it's our job to put our best foot forward and present them why Bowling Green and the CCHA is the right path for their son. And it's up for other teams to do whatever they need to do for themselves. But for me, our focus is always just going to be on what we think is best for Bowling Green, how we can make that player a better student athlete and provide them not only a great experience on the ice, but off the ice. But Major Junior is going to open up. If Major Junior does open up, it's going to open up a whole different wave of recruiting and a different approach, and obviously having those connections and being able to coach in that league, if it does open up, will again hopefully pay dividends as we move forward.
We're starting in Midco Arena, which there's a familiarity that comes with that, moving from year 1 to year 2. We have 9 new players, so it is very much a different team than we had last year. We lost our captain, top scorer, and our wins leader in goal. And those 3 guys, amongst the other 6th, 5th years that moved on, were highly valued. But we're looking forward to the turnover, increased opportunity for many, and being a full league member. What a wonderful surprise! The excitement it's brought to this campus, this community, and our players. Fortunate to have points that count and play for something within the CCHA, and we're looking forward to getting started.
Great. Questions for Coach? I think we have Jay Elson already.
Garrett, Jay Elson from Midco. Just kind of right off what you just mentioned there, the opportunity this year to be a full league member. How does that help in what you're trying to build?
Well, I think it's in how it happened, there's a story, and there was a plan in place. But I think that the CCHA and the league members, the committee up above found, along with Don, felt that we could provide value sooner than then. And that's us delivering on a promise. When you're explaining and selling a vision for years, you create your first team. It's a leap of faith. But I think as time's gone along, I think with the arena being on time and a team coming together, I think it shows that we're delivering on some of those things that we talked about. It's not just words; it's now becoming action.
Jared, how about? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jay.
I was just going to follow up real quick on that.
Yep.
Just how does it help within your locker room to be able to give these guys one extra thing to go to war for?
Well, there's a heightened importance, and the gravity of it is increased, and I think that's important. You have to live through it. There's emotions that come with it. There's a way you conduct yourselves. As other teams prepare for you, knowing what's on the line, I think that elevates the series. It's felt throughout the rink, and you can draw from it. It can help or create moments where youth shows, which we've seen. But at the end of the day, it's a chance to earn your next week in the postseason. And as programs are built, that's where you want to be. You find out so much of yourself when you're playing those meaningful games at the end of the year, and your next weekend's on the line.
Jared.
Hey, Coach. We talked a little bit about how, when Augustana gets Division I hockey, you wanted to do it with a plan and do it and go through the process the right way, right by the school, right by the CCHA, all parties involved. But being admitted early into this league as a full league member, how did that speed up that plan and that process from a coaching perspective?
I don't think you necessarily change the way you coach. I think that, your recruiting plan's your recruiting plan. Now, hopefully this helps. I've said right from the start, we're going to attempt to build this from within and not rely so heavily on the transfer portal. You see that through our class, welcoming 7 freshmen this year. There's some certain things that I hope organically help catapult this forward, but it's the importance of playing for meaningful points within a league. And it'll be our second tour of duty, so everyone's had a chance to kind of kick the tires on us and us on them. So there'll be more familiarity. And it's a tremendous league and some darn good players and coaching within it. It's just so competitive. I think that now that these league points are attached to it, that'll only increase.
Trent?
Thank you.
Hey, Coach, Trent Singer here with Sioux Falls Live, the Rink Live. Touching on Luke a little bit, you bring back your top returning point getter in him with 19 last season. I'm curious to know, though, with the 7 freshmen, how does a guy like Luke Mobley sort of be that tone setter for them, maybe just kind of through, maybe even away from the ice and on the ice?
I think Luke's just Luke. He's incredible at how he prepares, how he attacks academics, athletics, really everything. He's not a loud person, but I think his actions are a magnet for those that want to do the right things and are driven to success. And we've asked him just to be yourself. There's no extra pressure on him as he, approaches the first segment of the season, because we're seeing some of these younger players and even those in their junior and sophomore years that they're drawing him. He's in the driver's seat, but they're riding shotgun right there beside him and watching everything he does. And he sets such a tremendous example. And, some days he gets rewarded, others not, but he means so much to our program. He's already done so much, and we're certainly grateful to have him.
Thanks, Coach. Questions for Garrett? You guys do have an exhibition with North Dakota coming up as your first, contest against somebody else. How exciting is that to be playing that team especially, but also just you're getting your second season at Midco underway and the support you've gotten from the community?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I think all these coaches in our league will say the same thing. They just want to play someone in a different colored jersey. But to travel from South Dakota up to North Dakota, we're expecting a tremendous crowd. Will Howard's going home. We should travel pretty well up there. Just what a great collegiate environment, whether it's exhibition, regular season, playoff. It's a game you want your guys to be in, especially with a younger group. You want them to feel those emotions. And we'll certainly use it to grow and learn a lot about our guys.
Thanks, Coach. Jay?
Yeah, Garrett, with your plan, as you built it, obviously took some one and dones last year. Do you feel like you got everything you were hoping to as you got started in this thing out of those guys, and that they really helped lay the foundation that you can really build off here?
Yeah, you can't say enough about them. And we now have 6 hockey alumni here on campus, and couldn't be more proud of that small group. The way they conducted themselves in the classroom, community, the competitiveness they showed on the ice, and they led a young group and led in the right way. There's threads from last year that we want to carry on through the fabric of this team. Tremendous people. You say those things in a press conference. You want to build it with great people. Use the term the right people. Well, they were great people. They were the right people for us. And you feel like you owe so much to them. And this group does. They do owe it to that group to carry on those, like I said, those threads that we were real proud of last year as we got our start, and we got to build on it this year.
Glad to get together. Obviously, it's been an off season that we wanted to play longer in the year that we didn't get that job done. So your goal is always to play in the last game possible. So I thought our guys, their work rate, their competitiveness together, their love of one another has been exciting. The new additions have maybe brought a group, some solid pickups as far as the right people. the group that returned was exciting to have their opportunity. I think when you lose the likes of Sammy Morton and Lucas Sauter, that surrounding cast, it's going to leave a void. But I do believe that our guys have done the work in the off season here to make that thing happen. And at the same time, the additions will give us a really good balance.
Thanks, Coach. We have a question coming in from Kevin Dudley. There you go. Sorry, my fault.
You got me?
Yep.
Hey, Luke. I know obviously a year ago at this time you're doing a lot of new things just in terms of getting to know the guys and new community, but in terms of systems, I know you were really busy at this time last year installing, power play, penalty kill, forechecks, D zone, things like that. How much further along do you feel you are from that standpoint right now as you were, a year ago?
Yeah, you got to figure last year everything was first. It didn't matter what we did. It was the first time we loaded the bus together, to a meal together, to let alone the way, the style, the identity, the system, the structure you wanted to have. So I do believe we're way further ahead. Matter of fact, the inside joke around here is like, are we skipping something because we're moving along at a different pace? I think as a coach, you're excited about the idea that you get to teach, and now I think we've got internal pieces that can help coach one another. And a year ago, that peer system wasn't quite built because of it being all first. Now they've definitely taken the wheel a bit and understand one another. And I think the importance of helping each other along as peers and just man to man as young guys going through it's already sped us up quite a bit.
Trent.
Hey, Coach, Trent Singer with the Rink Live. I want to touch on one specific freshman that you brought in Luke Ashton, a 6'7" D man. I mean, I'm just curious, getting him in practices here in these first few weeks. What, is he as advertised? Just kind of in terms of being that imposing threat on the blue line.
Yeah, I mean, Ash is a big rig. I think there's two sides. One, he's a young man. His size is one thing, age is another. He's played enough junior hockey to be in here. The league presents older, harder. College hockey presents a more mature player. We really feel Ash is up for that test for sure. As far as attributes, you get a player that can skate that's that size. He's got a very heavy shot. He plays the position like a smaller player compared to the way to get around the rink and his mobility. And we're excited for the idea that he's a desperate guy to learn. Like, he loves learning, he loves the game, and I think that's going to propel him into some good things. It'll take him a little time to get adjusted, don't get me wrong, but we're excited about that package.
Kevin.
Got me?
Yep, gotcha.
Okay, good. In terms of, you touched on this earlier with the losses of Sam Morton and Lucas Sauter, but how confident are you in what you have coming back in terms of guys who have played top 6 minutes in replace them? I feel like that's a question that a lot of people are going to have. I know you've got it some, but how do you feel about the guys that you have looking at top 6 roles going into this year?
I think, Kevin, it's going to be a blend. I think there's a committee of players that want to be, if we can get as thick as there is in the top 6 and there's a 9 that all match together and they're interchangeable parts, I feel we're probably a stronger like that versus a 3, a 6, a 9. But I can tell you the fall off between 9 to 12 isn't very far either. So I think that's going to be the identity of our group. Like, if we can come in waves, as far as guys stepping up in opportunity, as guys mature and they go through their career, they want more. We feel we do a ton of individual development around here between plans and just steps to take, that we feel guys are ready to take on their new jobs and their new roles. And as far as their excitement level to be maybe given the keys in that spot, I think they're very excited for that.
Trent.
Yeah, Coach. Last season was unique because I think every team was bringing back experience at goaltender, and that's not so much the case this season. But how much of a value is it to bring back a guy like Alex Tracy into that role to sort of lead that goalie room?
It's imperative. I think the idea that Trace is not only the quality, the goaltender that he is, the person he is. The guy that gets captain votes as a goaltender. That's what he is. That stable of goalies for us. We've got four. I've never really had four before, but I do love the internal competition day to day. A little bit maybe take off some wear and tear on having three last year in the beginning because of injury. We had two. We surround ourselves with another group, but Trace is a leader, not only in the position, but within our own team. It feels pretty good to have that comfort level and to bring in Pauls, who had a great junior, run at it. Matty Severson is a very talented goalie, and Andrew Miller's been here for 3 years himself.
Kevin, do you have another?
Yep. We saw Evan Murr get recognized on the all CCHA preseason teams, Luke. I know he had a big year last year. It seemed like he improved last year as it went on, especially on the defensive end as well. How good can he be this year, and how happy are you for him to get that recognition?
Murr's a special guy. He again, he's a live to learn kid. Like, he wants to get better. He's a student of the game as far as the video. He wants to understand everybody's position as almost a quarterback on the football field. He wants to know what everybody's got going on. His talents, they allowed him to go to this summer. He was at Calgary's development camp. Sky's kind of the limit for me. He's a young man that had success last year coming in. He'll have probably a little more focus on him, no question on that part, but his maturity about going about his business and his daily routines and processes to get better, they've led to a great summer, and they're really leading into a sophomore year that you couldn't be more happy to see his progress.
Coach, last one here. We saw you out with your fans in line for tickets yesterday. What was the overall kind of feeling coming from the community? I know there's a great hockey community down there in Mankato.
It's awesome. I think their internal drive here in our community to have successful Maverick hockey is there. Our off, our out of conference play is a tough schedule, and it's supposed to be that way. I made it that way for the idea that we don't want to have a layup. We want to go to Michigan. We want North Dakota at home. We want you. They're going to be all tough. I mean, 3 of the 4 teams are in the tournament a year ago. I think that they're excited for hockey back here, and there's no question this league is built on rivalries. This league is built on just a night in and night out consistency, and that fan base of ours is excited to have. A lot of those people drove down from out of city limits to come in because they want to make sure they can get to the games of their choice.
Thanks for everybody for being a part of it to promote the league. Would like to welcome Schicker and Dennis to the league as well. 2 great men, 2 tremendous coaches. So great to see Dennis back with Bowling Green for his second stint there, and Schicker's kind of a mainstay. Even though he left, he's still kind of a mainstay at Northern. So welcome back, fellas, and it'll be good to see you throughout the season. Little different for us than it's been in the past in that the turnover, and I think a lot of teams have this. The turnover for our group was enormous this past year. High expectations from all of us last year. It was hard to see our way through the end of that. I think we were picked to win the league last year and never won a game for the first month. Ultimately, in the end, we were able to reach what at least our internal expectations were, and had success down the stretch, and we were able to have success. And with that, a lot of players moved on. Had some major exits, a couple of major exits in the transfer portal. Which creates more opportunity and more openings within our group. So we have a lot of young players that that I think are going to get, obviously we get a lot of ice time. We like the work ethic. We like the commitment level right now. I think every coach kind of says the same thing. We're excited to see what some of these guys can do, how they can grow. I heard Bobby Daniels talking. He was how with that big turnover comes a freshness of being able to, work on some things within the group that might have been habits in the past. That we can try to work our way out of with a new group initially. It's kind of like the few years ago when we had the Brian Hallinans, the Trenton Blisses, Missiaks, all those guys, Sawyer. That group came in as freshmen and kind of took the team over. I don't think we're at that stage yet with this young group, but I do think that they're going to be highly impactful in whatever successes we have this year. And then obviously we return a few key players. We have to find players to play with them. We return Gordo, who will be he'll do a tremendous job for us this year. He always does. High compete level, high commitment level to his craft. Finding him the right combination to play Max Koskapirity. Looks like he's ready to take a big step for us this year. What will be our limiting factors is our lack of upper class within the lineup that has proven in the past that they can impact. We have a lot of freshmen. We have a lot of sophomores. Chase Piatla, Gordo, that are really talented hockey players, but they're still sophomores and freshmen. And did a little bit in the portal. We still dabble a little bit in the portal, trying to find that right mix. It's been a hit and miss for us over the years, but we've done, again, a little bit of experimentation with that to try to patch some holes. But I think we kind of fill in our group as best as we can, much as Garrett does with his squad. Is we're trying to do it from within as much as we can and develop it and fill holes with Portland instead of trying to build our team around it. So we're excited to get going, to start playing some games. We like the group. The group is extremely hardworking. They seem to not be able to put enough time in, which is a pleasant, a pleasant environment to be around. Enjoyable. I think the culture around the locker room is really enjoyable, and we all like coming to the rink every day. And that's the start of how we can put things together. But for us, it's always a work in progress. This time of year, I guess I might be a little different than others because I have to, until we get on the ice and get in the corners and see what happens. It's hard for me to tell where we need to go completely. And once we do that, then we start putting it together, getting things figured out a little bit more, and being able to work more with individuals and less with just the entire group.
Thanks, Coach. Starting things off is Dave Ellis.
Hi, Coach. Dave Ellis from TV6 and Fox UP and Marquette.
Hi, Dave.
As Jordy Murray and Tyler Shalas keep getting more experience and you keep giving them more responsibility, what's that freeing you up to do when they can take away some of the things off of your plate?
Yeah, I don't think that's changed. That changes that much, David. We just added Ray Bryce, a former player, as well as our third assistant. He just yesterday was his first day on with us. So we kind of, we don't really. I don't really assign roles. We don't have a set recruiter. We don't have I like them running practice. I like them running drills within practice. We all, we get together and make sure that there's different voices being heard all the time as far as the way we teach. Everybody has obviously has their strengths, and but what I do like is I think our coaches have done a really good job of getting into recruiting the areas that we need to recruit and bringing in talented players for us. I think our recruiting has improved in a big way over the last couple of years. When you look at the likes of Max Koskapirity, a World Junior performer last year, we feel that Elias Janssen will be on the Finnish World Junior team this year. This kid has a chance to be a special hockey player. He's got strength, size, poise with the puck. Right now, it's just a matter of, as many young players in our league, it's just a matter of getting minutes and learning and adjusting. But he seems to have the mentality that he doesn't get stuck in the moment. He knows that it's just a part of the process towards development. So I to answer your question, it doesn't change. We just kind of keep doing what we do, and we get together and we kind of do things as a group. So it's not like I'm pawning things off to them or freeing up time to do anything extra. We kind of do everything collectively as it is.
Trent?
Hey, Coach, Trent Singer with the Rink Live. Hey, Coach. Obviously, the big question here is, having to replace a guy like Blake Pietila, and I'm curious as a coaching staff how you guys are going about that. Has there been a guy who has emerged as kind of that go-to guy, or will these first few weeks in non-conference play sort of be that determining factor of who goes forward when conference play does come?
Well, I think we have that's the obvious question. When you have a player of you don't replace them to start with, and I think that's the obvious answer that would be expected. There'll be opportunity for we picked up a goaltender, the transfer portal, Derek Mulhaley from Harvard, and then we also have Max Varanen, who's been kind of sitting in the wings and working hard at his craft to be ready for the opportunity. He was expected to be the goaltender for us last year until a late decision was made by Blake to come back. So you don't replace him. We'll see as it goes. Right now, I mean, it'll be a two-person position for someone to emerge. I expect that both of them will get considerable amount of ice time, especially in the first half of the year until someone emerges. But if someone has a strong performance immediately, and we might back it up with a second. But I don't think right now we will want to keep somebody on the bench for too long without giving them some ice time, just really until we are quite firm on where we're at that position.
Dave, back to you.
Coach, we all know that you've got a very Scandinavian feel to the roster now. How has that changed the way that you're playing the game and approaching it?
Well, I'm learning different languages. I think that's by necessity, and it doesn't change. We're going into areas that I think are familiar with the way that we play anyway. And like Dennis Williams said, hockey's hockey. Once we get through the language barrier on that, and figure out methods of teaching, which a lot of it's by everybody's so visual, it's through a lot of video, and it's probably less by talking, and probably to our players, the less I talk, the better anyway. So I think it kind of works out pretty well. We haven't found an issue with that yet, but we haven't obviously had somebody come in that has no understanding of our language.
Kevin McNulty?
Hey, Joe, good to hear from you again.
Okay.
Just thinking about last season, winless in October, you guys playing from behind and obviously have a lot of success towards the end of the year. How do you avoid that this time around, especially with the 2 home series to start out?
Well, it's never planned. It wasn't expected last year, especially coming out. We had a lot of issues going on last year that we had to get through. And again, the group that we had, I've never had a group that, I've had a couple that are in that class, but they're up in the upper class echelon of the character, with when you got Arvid and the Pirlas and, Tyrone Bronte. You can go down the list on the players that we had within that room that held everything together for us and again saw the light at the end of the tunnel. So you just try to get as much as you can. That's the concern, I think, from a lot of us within the league this year. It's certainly got to be the concern for Bobby Daniels, teams such as that. When you don't have a ton of returners back, which we don't, it's a matter of there's the excitement of the freshness to be able to work on some of the details you could. Like I thought we were for the last couple of years, a terrible zone entry team, both offensively and defensively. And I thought we had some areas of our game where, guys that weren't necessarily tremendously offensively gifted players tried to be that way. So we have the opportunity to really try to get the point across of how offense is created so that they can consistently, such as when we had, Blisser in here in that group, Tommy Peratino, when we had that group that kind of took over the team as a freshman and ended up being so strong as juniors and seniors, they can buy in, but not only that, they can sell it. They have some years here to develop, and they're not at the point where they're trying to make their career in 1 year and trying to cheat the game. And I think that's part of what went into last year is that, a lot of players trying to play for contracts and things like that that the game kind of got away from them early, and then it gets to the point where it's, you just, you hit kind of a bottom, and then you grow from there, and then there's a receptiveness of, okay, how can I be effective? How can I be good? I want to be good. And when you get a new group, a young, fresh group like we have now, they're coming in with that. Right now, we're at that stage where everybody's excited, everybody's putting in all the extra time, and then it'll come to the point where we have to start putting a lineup together where we'll have to, the locker room, and we don't have a ton of veterans back, and they have to hold that locker room together and let them know it's a process of development, and putting the time in all aspects, on the ice, off the ice, in the classroom, so that nothing gets away from you. So you completely have the ability to devote your attention to what you're trying to accomplish. So, I listened to Luke talk. He was great. You got guys talking about trust, and you got people saying all the right words, and those are all the right words, that there has to be that innate culture within your group, that you're not working against each other, that you're working with each other to try to reach an accomplishment. So we'll do what we can to get out the gate as early as we can. But that's why I'm excited about, like, an Elias Jansen, that he seems to have that pro mentality, like a Rentke and Les Brown, guys we've had in the past, that, Matty Roy, that they're not in the moment. So I think if he doesn't get out of the gate in a real big way, he'll figure it out by the time it comes around, and he'll continue to grow as the year went on. Last year we had a little bit of where we never, one or two key guys for us never really got out of the gate, and then it was catch up. They weren't able to catch up to the game. Still gave us really good efforts, but it affected part of our team, especially early on.
Last question from Trent here.
Yeah, Coach. Obviously, one of those returning upperclassmen is your captain, and Jack Works. I'm just curious as to how you've seen him. We've all seen him and come through in big moments for you guys over these last couple of years. But how have you seen him sort of take on that role of being the captain of this team? When obviously, like you said, there's a lot that goes into it when you consider all the youth that's in it.
Yeah, he's one of the home runs that we've gotten out of the portal, and I found that out of the, we need to know these guys for the most part. To the best chance you have of success in the portal is knowing the guys, and if you have a relationship with them prior, you've recruited them prior, then when you come back around to them, you kind of know what you're getting. We did things a little bit differently this year in our leadership. It came evident last year in our exit meetings last spring who our leaders were. I mean, that was 3 players who were clearly evident, and all those players are wearing letters this year, which are Worksy and Gordo and Chase. But then we left it up to the team from that point as to who is the leader of this group, who's got the locker room, because I say it often, it doesn't, the meeting after the meeting is the meeting. Whatever I go in and say, it doesn't matter. It's how that message is received and spread, and if it's a wrong message, how that's challenged with me to get it straightened out and make it the right one. And it was unanimous, virtually unanimous, that Worksy was our guy. And when your captain, and all 3 of our captains are your hardest workers every day when they come to the rink, that's a great place to start. We've had that with Arvid, we've had that with other players, and that's part of the success that we've had, and the opportunities we've had for these guys to have many chances at the national tournament, is that locker room culture, and Worksy emulates exactly what we're trying to get across here in the student athlete at Michigan Tech. So very proud of him. He's bringing that. The biggest thing I talked to with him was that he's got a fuse like I do, and he can get under an official's skin, and he can get under the opponent's skin, and probably a lot like I can. And so what the talk we had is, I've really been trying to be pretty non-vocal, especially with officials and things like that. And he's going to have to be the same way, because we don't want to always be sending our assistant captains out to talk to the referees. And he said, yeah, I've been thinking about that. I know what you're saying. So, brings a high compete level, and this will really help in his overall maturity as a person. And I don't think it's going to change his game at all. It's only going to help his game.
started a few weeks ago with year 4 here, and we feel good about where we're at, and the type of student athlete that we've tried to recruit here at St. Thomas, really to our identity and our culture. And we continue to focus on trying to be the best we can be every day and not worry too much about, anything else.
Questions for Coach. Rico, you had the preseason accolades, picked first in a poll, preseason player of the year from the coaches and the media, and Lucas Wallen. What has his development been like for you, and just like seeing him grow when he came in as a freshman a couple years ago?
Yeah, again, I think I'll just address the poll issue. I think it's great for a few days when you see that in the preseason polls, but at the end of the day, we have to do what we need to do in terms of getting our team ready to play at a high level. And I think it really starts with Lucas Wallen. Ever since he stepped foot on campus, he's been our best player in terms of his approach to practice, his approach to the process. We recruited him because we feel like he's part of what we're trying to build with our identity. And he's certainly our captain in a lot of ways, not just on the ice, but off the ice as well. So I don't know that he's much of a secret. He had a pretty good USHL season when we recruited him, but a great story because Lucas was a late bloomer. A lot of experts in our business didn't think very highly of him. He had to fight his way through, playing in the North American League, playing a level down before that, and then making a splash in the USHL. So he's worked for everything that he's accomplished to this point, and I have no doubt that he'll continue to do that.
Question from Jared Rubedo.
Hey, Coach. When you think about the process of, back to Lucas's freshman year and the guys he came in with now and what they've helped build this program to, can you just talk a little bit about how the players have worked, internally to deserve this preseason contender status that you guys have gotten this year?
Well, I think it starts with Coach Hayward calls that class the believers. They committed to St. Thomas not knowing that we were going to have a new building on the horizon, not knowing, if we were going to be able to play for a national tournament. We're not going to be able to play for a championship, all those things. But they came to St. Thomas not because of anything other than they want an opportunity, great academics. They saw the vision that we were trying to build. And so we really focused on that class in terms of, being a little bit different. Every player is a little bit different. We wanted to kind of have that be our base. But they're all really good character players. And so they've meant a lot to our program. We focus on a few things within our culture. One is team dynamics. I think they do a great job in making sure that our team is focused on being good to each other, making sure that the things that they need to do on and off the ice are in the right place. We focus on daily behaviors. I think that group focuses on making sure that the guys are doing what they're supposed to be doing from the moment they get up in the morning to when they fall asleep again. And then obviously the accountability part is a huge piece. And I think that class really focuses on them being ready to play every day, being ready to play to our standard and our identity. And then that feeds off the rest of the team. So really important class for our program. And, now they're juniors that they become the leaders of our team, and hopefully they can continue to do that.
Dave with a question.
Hey, Coach, Dave Ellis from TV6 and Fox UP in Marquette. You talked about this when you took the job, that it's a long-term project. Where are you in the process now? Are you maybe even a little bit ahead of where you thought you would be?
Hi, Dave. I answered this question last week to somebody that asked me. To be honest with you, I don't know where we're going to be. Things have happened the way they needed to happen. We recruited a really good class, that junior class we just talked about. They've been kind of our identity drivers since day one. Our staff's done a great job in identifying those players. We've been able to attract some transfers that are coming home to play that we've known for quite some time. So we had a good feeling about who they were as people and would they fit into our culture. You know, the landscape in college athletics, as you know, is changing every second of the day, and nobody knows what the heck's going on. So we are where we are, and we feel good about what we have. But if I sat here and told you I thought we were going to be here, or are we ahead of schedule, I have no idea. You know, I think part of our culture and something I really try to focus on is just to be here and be present and really give all my attention, all my love, and all my focus on the team that's here right now, and you know, try to do it again tomorrow.
Question from Trent.
Hey, Coach, you know, I think it was pretty well documented last season about the injuries that you guys experienced in the second half. You know, I know you were probably getting sick of getting asked questions about it, but here's another one for you. Just at the end of that season, I mean, just kind of, you know, we're 6 months removed from all that. How do you feel like that has sort of helped mold your team going into this season with maybe some of those younger guys who got that experience that maybe you weren't expecting to get it?
Well, thanks, Trent, for bringing it back up. But no, I think that's a valid question. And I think sometimes as you navigate through life, as you navigate through seasons and you're building your program or your team, you go through some different types of adversity. Last year was certainly the type of adversity that we hadn't dealt with in our short time here at St. Thomas. So having to deal with the injuries allowed other players to play. We have a saying in our locker room that everybody matters. And certainly that was true last February and March. And it gives the guys that normally would not probably get an opportunity to play in meaningful games an opportunity to do that. But it also added to some of our key guys that were able to play a lot of minutes and probably play situations that maybe they wouldn't have played in, right? So all of that is a really good, looking back, I think it's really good. It wasn't great going through it, obviously, but you know, it's helped us understand not only what we need to do in the off season, but what we need to do in season to make sure that we're keeping our minds and our bodies in a good spot in order for us to be successful each and every day. And, you know, the guys that were injured that are back in the lineup now, I think they have an appreciation of, you know, missing the game for so long. And so their motivation was very impactful in the spring and in the summer. And it really kind of fed through the rest of the team.
Jared.
Yeah, Coach. Last year there were a ton of teams in this league ran goalie tandems, and you know, some of them were because of injury, some of them were because that was the best decision for that team. But you bring back one of the better goalie tandems to this season. Just talk about the confidence you have in Trotter and Seibel this season.
Yeah, again, same question I got a week ago, and I said, you know, their jobs is to make my life hard and our staff's life hard when it comes to making a decision. And both Sibes and Trotz played really well last year, and so at this point, I don't see any real reason to change from that. And the only thing that's going to probably change is we have a third in Prosma that's pushing them. So it's been really kind of fun to watch the development of all three of those guys pushing each other, and all three of them get along great. So it's going to be a difficult decision when the time comes.